Okay, so now we've set up things. We're going to talk about, hey, how do we handle a union data type? Well, we already know how to handle union data types. What about a union data type where you have a couple branches that are both structs, or multiple branches like that? So, and again, this is nothing really profoundly new, just reiterating some of the same ideas, but a certain style will approach. So union of compound data types, a union of structs. And we're going to come back and be using this a lot, and if you're in the object-oriented world, we'll call it the composite pattern. We're going to use this to represent trees in a bit. Okay, so I went ahead and split the windows so that we can see the data definitions for book and DVD, because it's important we keep those data definitions there all the time. And now we're going to say, hey, I want to go ahead and represent something on the shelf at the library. Library, might have a book on the shelf, might have a CD sitting there on the shelf. So I'm going to say I have something that is either a book or a CD. Sorry, a DVD. So a book or a DVD. So I can go ahead and say, well, what type should I use to represent a book or a DVD? A union data type. I'm going to say union is either a book or it's a DVD. It's not, don't say I'm going to have one thing that has 8 different structs, has 8 different fields in it. Don't say it's one item that has 2 different fields in it, a book and a DVD, because I don't have a book and a DVD. I'll have a book or a DVD. Okay, so data definition here, call it a library item, a lib item. So step 1 of the design recipe, a lib item is a book or a DVD. And then just to keep things a little bit interesting, without getting too divergent, I'll say, it can be a book or a DVD or something else. And how should I represent something else? And my first thought was, well, maybe I'll have just a string describing it, like, hey, oversized, or, like a musical score, a printed musical score, or whatever other things libraries have. They have lots of other different things. So I could have a string describing it or something like that, or, empty can of Red Bull, or whatever is sitting on the shelf there. Who knows what they keep on the shelf. I'm just going to go a little bit simpler. I'm going to say it's a lib item. A lib item is either a book or a DVD or something else. And how to represent something else, I'll just use tick other, the symbol other. Something like false also occurred to me, although false seems to indicate nothing there. True might be another constant to you. I could use 17 if I wanted to. Okay, so this is my data definition. Let's go ahead and step 2 of the design recipe. Let's get some examples of the data. Well, this is going to be pretty easy. Let me just go up and grab some examples of, I already have examples of books, I already have examples of DVDs, so put that there. And put this here. Okay. So it could be something like this, it could be something like this, it could be quote other. Better not redefine it if it's already in my file here. Okay. So yeah, great. Let's go write the template. And this is sort of, I'm going to jump, I'm not going to give an example of writing the code and then come and write 2 or 3 functions, then I'll come back and say, hey, look, here's the template that we wrote over and over again. I'm going to use our existing knowledge and jump straight to a template for a, now we know how to do a template for a union type, right? Go ahead and start writing, and this will still play in everything we write here is going to be towards where we want to go. Give me a template for a lib item. Go ahead and pause. And I know a lib item is a book or a DVD or other. So I'll go ahead and pause and bang out what the template should look like for a lib item. Hint, just like any other union type. Okay, back from pausing. Awesome. Hopefully that went straightforward. If not, go and review how to do a data definition for a union type. Template, any function handles a lib item. So yeah, func for lib item takes in a lib item and returns, I don't know what it's going to return. Okay. How should it look? I'll have some sort of description statement. define for lib item, a lib item, an item, ALI. I'm happy with all of those. We have a union with 3 branches. Awesome. A con with 3 questions here. So I'm going to put in, I know that I'm going to have 3 question answer pairs, so I'm going to go ahead and start that right now. Okay. What's the first question we should ask? I might as well take from our data definition, follow that data definition order. I might have a book. How would I ask if a lib item happens to be a book object? Oh, I have that predicate book. Okay. I also have the predicate DVD. And then finally, if I fall through here, I know that if I'm a lib item and I'm not a book and I'm not a DVD, then I must be other. Since this is an easy condition to write, I'll go ahead and just put it in there. Symbol equal of a lib item and other. It's okay if you say else or true here in that branch. Okay, or symbol question mark would also be enough to handle it. All of those are fine with me. Okay, so that's what we'd usually have so far for the union type. That's what I expected you to have right now. If you didn't have this, again, on the exam, you'll need to be able to get to here in a fairly mindless way. Okay. So here's the new bit. If the thing you have, you know it's a book, we're going to now take some of the stuff we have to, off in the template for book, we're going to say, hey, right here, we're going to go ahead and do stuff like pull out the different fields. So look at book title of a lib item. So this is new. So look at book num pages of a lib. And now I'm wishing I'd chosen a shorter name than a lib item. Book author. And notice that I'm actually calling my getters on this item. So book is copyrighted, a lib. Just to test your fingers, go ahead and pause and finish the template for the DVD branch. Okay, so this is what I ended up with here. I went to calling it an item, a little bit smaller. Yeah, so for DVD, again, just pull out whatever fields we have for DVD. By dumb luck, I chose 4 fields for both books and DVDs. Doesn't have to be that way, of course. Okay. So, let's go ahead and real quick, let's just bang out an example. This is all the concept we need. Don't need any more. If you have a union of structs, go ahead and do your union template. And then within each branch that was a struct, go ahead and sort of inline the struct template here. Okay. So a quick example. First, just a note. We're not doing any sort of object-oriented design here, and I'm purposely going to leave that aside. In particular, you might have wanted to say, hey, books and every library item has a title. Well, okay, other doesn't, but books and DVDs each have a title. I should have one class, one struct that has the title field, and then other DVD and book should both inherit from that. Yeah, that's the right way to maybe do things. If they're there for, if that field is there for semantically the same reason in different types, do it. We're not going to worry about that here. You can go ahead and look up in Racket how to do define struct and inherit fields from another struct. We're not going to look at that. We will come back eventually and talk about inheritance and fields, in particular fields versus methods, and how that difference is maybe a little bit artificial in some ways if you think of a function as a value. Okay, so great. Let's go ahead and see if we can go ahead and write time to waste. Time to waste takes in a library item and returns how much time you can waste watching or consuming that item. So of course now we need to figure out, well, how long does it take to do things? Okay, so time to waste, DVDs with a DVD. It takes 5 minutes to get a DVD going, and then it's runtime. Okay, so that's how much time a DVD can waste, 5 minutes plus its runtime. For a book, it's the reading time plus an additional 1 minute to read the back cover, and I think we already had a function for reading time, as I recall, from a previous thing. So back when we did struct book, we talked about reading time, and we made up something like it was 2 minutes per page or something like that. Okay. And for anything else, the time to waste is 1 minute. You pick it up and you sort of look at it for a minute and then say, okay, I'm done. Okay, so go ahead and see if you can write that code. Go ahead and pause and write that code. Good. So first of all, your test cases. You've made test cases. We have 3 examples of the data. I'm going to go ahead and do that. For book 0, whatever book 0 was, answer was how much? Oh, it's the reading time of book 0 plus 1. And by the way, at this point in my test cases, this is when I realized I did not a moment ago specify the units of my answer in my description, but I did go ahead and want this in minutes, so I'll go ahead and do that. By the way, I want to make a comment about the stuff that I put inside the function, the comment inside the function, and the purpose statement outside the function. My purpose statement, I'm going to leave general. How much time it takes to waste the item. The exact details of how you compute that might be of interest, but it's not, whoever calls this function doesn't really care about that. All we're guaranteeing to them is it's going to be the time that you can waste reading with this item here. We might go ahead and internally have comments about, the details of how we go about computing things and what different things we are. But this is not meant to be a guarantee that is part of my I/O constraints. It's not my pre-condition or post-condition. I might come back later and decide that the running time for DVDs is a little bit different. I'm not going to rename my function. I don't need to change its purpose statement just because I decide that, nowadays it takes only 3 minutes to get a DVD going because of improved technology. And I know you guys are thinking, DVD, what's that? I think my grandpa once mentioned a DVD that had a movie stored on it. Okay. Okay, so yeah, here's our first test case, time to waste of the Fellowship of the Ring, which is 178 minutes long. We decided that was going to be plus of, it's going to be 178 plus 5. Should I use a named constant here? Probably. It's not an unreasonable thing to do. Define DVD startup time is 5, and in fact I might even go ahead and, if I'm going to do that, book startup time is 1 minute, and then copy and paste. Okay, copy, paste. Okay, so now we have these test cases, and then we decided this time to waste for other should be 1 minute as well. So that can be a different named constant, of course. Other waste time. Okay. So now we can go ahead. Now that we've done these test cases, I think everything else is going to fall out. Should I have more test cases? Maybe, but I'm again going to be taking a white box approach for this class, saying, the answer is always going to be the startup time plus the runtime. Even if the runtime were 0, that's how much time you'd waste. You put it in and say, oh, there we are, closing credits. That was a good movie. So I'm not going to worry about testing something with its input 0 or taking the white book approach. But the back of my head, I am thinking about these things still. Yeah, what a book with 0 pages. Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's go ahead and copy paste the template. Boo, boo, boo. And we'll see that, I'll leave that here. By the way, I guess at this point I should go ahead and run and make sure my tests fail with a 9999, and then we comment out some other stuff that's not needed. Okay, so yeah, run our test cases with our stub 9999, and it goes up, and oh, sure enough, we see that a bunch of tests failed because the actual value was 9999. Okay, but we made sure everything ran with syntactic. We're not missing any closed parens, etc. Get that out of the way before we copy and paste this whole template. Boom. Copy and paste. Okay, so now what is our oops. Okay, well, maybe I should unsplit my windows here. We'll just do triplicate vision, chew up bandwidth on this video. Okay, so what was the startup time? For a book, gosh, you know, this sort of writes itself, doesn't it? Actually, let me do the DVD first. 178 plus the DVD startup time, that should be my answer. But of course, it's not quite that. It's plus, where did the 178 come from? Oh yeah, it wasn't the year or the length, it was the DVD length. And then DVD startup time. Okay. So there, of the 4 different fields, we only used one of them, and that's fine. Other time to waste. That's going to be our answer for this case. By the way, could I have hard-coded this in my test cases? For test cases, I'm not going to care if you fold in these numbers or like, hey, I know DVD startup time is 5, so I'm going to put down 183 as my answer, or plus a 178.5. All of those are fine for the test case. Okay. In fact, maybe for my test case here, I should have gone ahead and used other time waste if I use that name constant here. Whatever, I'm not going to be worrying about it. Test cases are this double check against me. They're not meant to be the perfect, immaculate code. Okay. Book. This is one where, you know, we already had a function reading time. And so, yeah, you may not use the 4 fields provided here. You might go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to just take that book and pass it off to some other helper function I already wrote. Except it wasn't called B0, it was called an item. Okay, so now we can go ahead and try this. By the way, the place where it would help me to have 2 different check expecs for 2 different books, B0 and B1, would be if I just done that copy-paste and I left this as B0. Yeah, that would definitely be a bug. Would be using the global constant B0's time. And if my only test happened to be for, by dumb luck, B0, my test cases wouldn't catch that. So, again, I'm not going to be requiring extensive test cases, but, you know, even here, it would help against the sort of error that I am likely to make at 3 in the morning. So, okay. Now I can try this. All my test cases pass. What was the last step again? Woohoo! My test cases pass. Okay. So, great. Nothing really going on there except realizing that we can use our template as before if the right-hand side is something if one of the branches of our con statement, if the corresponding answer is dealing with a struct, then go ahead and our template says pull out the fields of the struct. Our code will go ahead and be using those fields and assembling our answer out of those fields. Just one field. Gosh, I wanted another example real quick of something that took a little bit more work. So shelf space needed, how much shelf space is actually needed on this old school physical library to hold the book or the DVD or whatever. Okay, so librarians say that a book, how much space is needed, the width of the book. I pulled out a ruler and took my book, the textbook for the class here. For every 250 pages, you need 1 centimeter. Okay, and if we only have 125 pages, you'll only use half a centimeter. Okay. But the cover thickness, and we'll sort of, again, this is all contrived, but for a non-copyrighted book, there's a really thin cover. For copyrighted books, somebody's publishing them and taking a little bit more care. It's a thicker cover there. Okay. So, great, that's how much, you know, we decide. When we decide we need to have this function, we go and talk with our boss, we consult with the experts, the domain experts, the librarians, and they tell us, oh yeah, this is how much space is needed. And DVDs, you know, well, you need just 1 centimeter for a box. Oh, but you know, there are some DVDs that are like this really multi-volume epic thing, and they actually have another box for every 2 discs. They have an additional box. And each box takes up 1 centimeter. Excuse me. And yeah, now I realize I'm sort of now trying to, I don't have the perfect terminology. I talk about DVDs, which usually I think of meaning 1 disc. And now I'm saying, oh, but hey, this 4-disc volume is really all 1 DVD, logically, even if it's spread across 4 physical discs. So maybe I don't have the best term here. But, okay. And librarians, what else do we need to ask them about? Yeah, we'll come about other items are given 8 inches of shelf space, no matter what. Okay, so we can go ahead, if we want some named constants, we can go ahead and do those. Shelf space needed for, you know, B0 and B1. What were B0 and B1 again? I go down here. B0 was something with 0 pages. So it's going to be what? It's not copyrighted. So it's going to be twice the uncopyrighted thickness. So I can say, hey, my answer here should be cover uncopyrighted thickness. Okay, for B1, gosh, what was B1 again? 37 pages. So gosh, it's going to take 37 2/50ths for the pages, and then we need to add on to that twice the cover of a copyrighted thickness cover. Okay, so I'm good with that. Okay, other check expects, and you know, I say write your check expects before writing the code. At this point, part of me is saying, okay, now let's go and get the code, and of the template, let's fill in the part for the book before we start thinking about the DVD. Yeah, I can understand that. Not too much. I'm not unhappy with that. I'll go ahead and finish them all. Partly because I like to get, again, for my, make sure all my parentheses are balanced. I'd like to make sure that I have all my test cases running and failing from a stub before I go on and try to paste in the template with a bunch of question answer pairs, a bunch of nested parentheses. Okay, check expect of shelf. Let me put this here. Okay. Shelf space needed of what? Oh, hey, how about this DVD here? Okay, how much shelf space will that need? It's 178 minutes. It all fits on a single disc, not much less a pair. So it's going to be DVD. And again, if you just said 1 here, I'm fine with that as test cases. But it does occur to me, I like to check specs here because I'm like, you know, I need to make sure that I really handle the copyrighted versus uncopyrighted thickness separately. I wasn't so much worried about by the way, I might have written this slightly differently. If I want, there it is. Yeah, I kind of like that better, suddenly. Okay, adding on 0 to my answer. But this makes it, you know, I can sort of tell what my code is going to look like looking at that, so. Okay, check expect, blah, blah, blah. Let me do another check expect where I have to worry about multiple boxes. Yeah. So, gosh, I'll go ahead. The Fellowship of the Ring der Nibelungen. How to spell that before I do that. That's from. So now I should look up when Wagner was around. I have no idea. And that's going to be long. You know, this will make my life 180 minutes was a disc. I'm going to make 1,800 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and maybe making even that 1799, almost 1,800 minutes. Heck, I should make the year 1799 to be confusing as well. Okay, anyway, that rating of that, the Ring of the Nibelung is that's PG 25, I think. Okay, how much should that be? We're going to need several boxes for this because it's so long. How many boxes do we need? Gosh, you know, figuring this out myself is going to help me figure out how to write the code for it. So, how many boxes do I need for something that's almost 1,800 minutes long? One single DVD can be 180, so that's like 10. It'll fit onto 10 discs. I need 9.9 discs. Well, I can't have 9.9 discs. I need 10 discs. I need to. Oh, I'm going to need to round up or something. What do you call that when you round? It's not really rounding up, because if I have 181 minutes needs to fit onto 2 different discs. So I go from 100, 180. Is 181 goes. Anything between 181 and 360 rounds up to 2 discs. Oh, that's called sealing. So, okay. Anyway, I'll need something like on the lines of 10 discs, which is 5 boxes, 5 DVD boxes. Okay, great. That's what I'm looking for. And I should have a check expect of that unfinished can of Red Bull. So, shelf space needed of other. Okay, and that will be, what did we say? 8 inches. Should probably be a named constant as well. I'm really being picky here. I'm not going to, in my grading, I'm not going to worry too much about making these named constants, but that's the right thing to do. Did I say 8 inches of shelf space? The library is very apologetic. 8 centimeters of shelf space. Wait, 8 centimeters? That's not enough. We need about 8 inches worth, which is roughly 2.5, right? So double it and then half again, 20 centimeters. Okay, great. Okay, so now we can go ahead and copy paste the code and do all this. See if you can go ahead and copy paste the code and match these test cases. By the way, I should go ahead and run right now to make sure we're matching the test cases, and I don't even think I have the header or anything like that here. So, shelf space needed. I add the signature, the purpose statement, but let's go ahead and define shelf space needed of an item. I guess I should be copying the template already here. But I'll stub it out. It's going to be a non-negative real, so okay. Good, I have a bunch of test cases that are failing, so I am happy. So now I'm going to use the magic of the pause, copy and paste my template, and fill in the code. See if you can go ahead and do that too faster than I can do it in my pause. I just noticed that in all my named constants I was using underscores. I do spend too much time off in languages like Java where I have to use an underscore to make a compound word or camel case. Hyphens, people have been using those for thousands of years. That's a good way to make a compound word. That's how everybody does it in English and other languages. Use hyphens if your language lets you. Yeah. Okay, I went ahead and made that little edit. Okay, so again, what's the rationale for this particular problem? Just to get more practice in using a template where we have to use several different fields. So shelf space needed, it was somehow number of pages plus twice the cover thickness. So I can go ahead and even say that my answer is going to be an addition of, see, book title, didn't matter. Book author, didn't matter. Book number of pages, that matters. It's going to be somehow that times my named constant of page thickness. Okay, and then I need to add on, I need to go ahead and add on whether or not the book is copyrighted. And the cover of the thickness, and it's always going to be 2 times somethings. 2 times, and now I need, if it's copyrighted, I use one named constant, otherwise I use another. So if book copyrighted for my template, use cover C thickness, else use cover un-C thickness. Getting kind of a long line there. Let's go ahead and, yeah, we're getting some extra editing here. We are under attack.
I want to help you.
Yeah, I know you do. Okay, let me just close off my parens. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this, whoa, okay. We're going to pause here for a second. Okay, by the way, a couple of keystrokes that might help are escape left and escape right. We'll go ahead and move you one symbol, one expression at a time. So if here, up at the beginning of the if, escape right moves me all the way to the other end of the matching closed paren. If I'm just in front of a single identifier, it moves me across that identifier. Okay, so that looks pretty good for covering this part here. Okay, shelf space needed for DVDs. It was what? It was box thickness times how many discs we had. So it's going to be box DVD box thickness.
What is this?
Yeah, okay. Well, let me hit the pause again. Whew. DVD box thickness. And then again, the title didn't matter. The year it was released didn't matter. The length played into this next part here. The rating didn't matter. I'm going to delete that right now. Okay, so how did that length work? If we had more than twice 180 minutes, so for every clump of 360 minutes, we need to include another box. So what are we going to do? We're going to take the DVD box, we're going to take the length, we're going to divide this by 360. Gosh, should that be another named constant? I guess. In for a penny, in for a pound. I've committed to name constants now. Let's call it disk max length. Okay, but it's again not, like we talked about already, it's not quite that divided. We need to do this sort of rounding up, but it's not rounding, it is the ceiling. And do I do the ceiling after everything else? I think I do the ceiling after everything else. Okay, that should give me this. Again, I'm split across several lines here, so I'll figure out a reasonable place to make a line break. Let Dr. Racket indent for you. Okay. Here we have the other space needed, and we needed another named constant for define disk max length. Max number of minutes storable on a single DVD disk. Okay. Store other objects, other lib items. Okay, so now I'm pretty happy. Let's go see what we do here. Double check, yeah. Let's go ahead and run. And can we end the video? Oh, book-copyrighted. What is this? I didn't copy the template correctly, or I wrote the template incorrectly. Yeah, shame on me. I think actually I did retype the template because I was doing some other stuff. Anyway, so yeah, following the recipe closer, I would have done better on this one. Okay. All 14 tests passed. Woohoo! We can end the video. I mean, end the video after one more recap of just remembering what we talked about. We're talking about the template when we have a union type. Well, we know that template, it would just have a con with however many variants you have. If you have a union type with 3 variants, make a con with 3 branches. That's exactly what we did here. The twist was when one of the branches is itself a struct, then go ahead and lay out for yourself the fields of that struct. So again, I'll phrase it as take what we did for the template for a struct and inline that into that branch of the cond. Okay? And so we saw with shelf space needed that we went ahead and we had the 3 branches for book, DVD, and other. And then we used the fields appropriately for the book num pages. The book is copyrighted. The DVD length We didn't use all the fields, that's fine. And sometimes we didn't even use any of the fields in that we went ahead and say, hey, I'm just going to call some helper function for the book. I'm not going to pull out the fields of the book. I'm going to call some helper function reading time that was already written for books. And that's perfectly fine as well. That's not against the template in any sort of way. So, okay. So yeah, if you have a union and some of the branches are themselves structs, we have one extra little step to the template. Other than that, nothing has changed.